Greetings and salutations, the ranting engineer back. This episode is about pipelines. And this is where, right here, right now, I end the debate about pipelines, period. Politicians ain't going to like this, and special interests ain't going to like this, because I'm going to kill the argument with math. Hard to argue with math. So, where am I going with this? Pipelines are the most efficient, effective, and safe way to move fluids. Not just oil, we're talking hydrocarbon, light hydrocarbon, dense phase CO2, water. Most people forget most of their water goes through pipelines in this province, in fact, in this country. So where we're going with this, let's start off with an analogy. If I got a car going around a corner at 60 kilometers an hour, not that bad to go around the corner. Still takes a certain amount of force. You got to turn it, brakes, whatever else. I take that same car and try to put it around the corner at 160 kilometers an hour, probably going to go off the road and into the ditch. The point is, the car has mass moving at a certain velocity called momentum. Momentum translates to force. In pipelines, you can only move the fluid in the pipe so fast. Good engineering design keeps it below about 3.3 meters per second. In this case, let's take a 24-inch line running at 2.5 meters per second. Yes, the 24-inch line just happens to be the exact same size as most of the pipeline of the Kinder Morgan system, which has been running for over 55 years without incident. You need to pay attention to that. So if I'm running through this line about 2.5 meters per second, give or take wall thickness and everything else, you're putting about 2,300 meter cube per hour through the pipeline. That's equivalent. That's over 300,000 barrels a day. So the equivalent rail cars is about 18 to 20 an hour. That means I am loading, moving, and unloading 20 rail cars an hour. Not that easy to do. Now, when I look at the pressure drop in large pipelines, because oil has a certain viscosity, certain density, there's a certain pressure drop in the pipe. So you need pumps to keep moving this along. Usually it's supplied by electricity. Well, the comparison is diesel-powered engines that are on the diesel locomotive moving these rail cars. Then there's other pumps that you got to unload and load and stuff like that. So when you look at the total energy envelope, pipelines kick rail cars' ass completely. There is no debate. If you want to debate that, you can email me because I will hit you with the numbers, and they're pretty staggering in difference. So I look at pipelines as the most efficient, effective way of moving fluids. I'm not saying that you shouldn't use rail cars. I look at it as a supplementary way of moving oil. Now, we build more pipelines in this country. Basically, rail cars is like bonus. Now, you got to keep in mind that when you look at the data, and I don't want to bore people with data, the truth of the matter is pipelines are damn safe. When you look at the amount of pipelines that have ruptured, based on the amount of fluid they've moved, they are way safer than rail. And remember I went on my rant about HAZOFs with driving cars? For the amount of oil that's moved through a pipeline compared to the amount of accidents in driving, you are putting yourself at greater risk driving a car than there is the chance of a pipeline failing. I'll let you chew on that. The data's out there. I'm not going to bore you with it. Unless you want to argue, then I will pull that data out and I will steamroll you with this. Okay? Now, back to rail cars. Every time you load a rail car and unload a rail car is another potential to have a spill. It's just the way. It's got to be hooked up. There's a bit of manual operation. You've got to pump it in. You've got to safe it out and everything else. The other thing is rail cars is there's also a limitation of how fast you can load them due to static, due to spill and everything else. So again, anybody that comes back and says, oh, we need to use more rail. No, rail is a supplementary way. It's like moving trucks around. Okay? You can haul oil in trucks. It's on the highway. There's still the same issue of it potentially rupturing and stuff like that. Now, there is still energy being used to pump oil in a pipeline. So there's lots of factors known in the government. You can translate the amount of energy you use into CO2 equivalent. However, rail is a direct CO2, direct emissions, because it's diesel in a locomotive pulling a huge amount of weight on the rail lines. So pipelines, by far, most efficient, most effective, and safest way to move oil. Period. It's done with math. So anybody, again, that comes up with the argument against pipelines, when it comes to engineering, design, everything else, will not win against someone like me. So you can take this. So when some politician says, well, I want a review on the pipe, you know what? Come to the engineering office and you're going to see the tens of thousands of hours, the studies, everything, the process design, mechanical, environment, everything that goes into a pipeline. Yes, we will take the time to learn. But if you come out trying to say some of the calculations, oh, I don't believe, I will hit you with math and I will bury you. So you need to come at with me. You need to come at with me something that shows me that pipelines are unsafe. Yeah, if we're putting them through an earthquake zone in the middle of a lava pit, probably not good engineering design. But we design these things with specific parameters, with specific forces, environmental, everything else that goes into it to make sure these things are safe. So when people come along, again, and challenge that pipelines aren't the best way to move fluid, send them to me because I will correct them in a hurry. All right. Have a good night, ladies and gentlemen. We'll talk again soon. Bye.